you have an idea for a show and you want to do it, you can.
I almost feel like we're painting every week as opposed to just pressing buttons.
From my perspective in front of the camera, it just looks like magic.
With TriCaster, we found an economical system that we can always be updated, add a little movement to our shows, and still be new and fresh in the market.
It's a super cost-effective product, but it provides just an incredible bang for the buck.
Our revenue has increased probably 50 to 65%, and it's just taking off. You know, we're just scratching the surface.
You can stop thinking about the technology and start thinking creatively.
Lightwave very quickly can get us from start to finish, and our clients are always 100% satisfied with the work.
The TriCaster is an incredible tool that provides us with so many great options of cutting cameras and feeding into the front of house and recording the show at the same time.
This film, this scale, it couldn't have been done without Lightwave.
It made a lot of things possible that just would have been out of our reach.
A regular television station, I couldn't have done this, but via the web and because of NewTek and TriCaster, it's possible.
That's really what it boils down to in this business. It's time, it's money, and it's quality. They usually say, pick two. Well, I think we can take all three.
We do back here. We make magic happen, and NewTek lets us make magic. It's great.
NewTek makes magic.
The step that NewTek has taken with this new equipment is fantastic.
There are no longer walls, barriers, or limitations.
It definitely hits the highs across the board. TriCaster has been the rocket engine that has propelled us into the stratosphere of entertainment.
Best stuff on earth.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Broadcast Minds. Now, here's NewTek Senior Vice President of Artist and Media Relations, Philip Nelson.
How are you guys doing? Wow. You must not know me to give me that kind of a round of applause, but I do appreciate it. You're way too kind. I'd like to welcome you all to the Broadcast Minds panel for 2012. We are so excited to have such an awesome panel here tonight, and we really can't wait to see what kind of vision that we can get out of these guys. I'd like to start out by introducing our moderator. Our moderator is actually an Emmy Award winner. He's known by many as the Godfather of Tech, and he's also the tech advisor to the stars, Mr. Leo Laporte. Let's hear it for Leo, everybody. No, you're perfect, man.
Okay. Kevin Pollak pushed me out here. I don't know what to
timing.
do.
It's
all
all good.
Okay.
Trust Kevin Pollak. All right, now it's time to introduce our panelists for this year. It's the Broadcast Minds 2012 panelists. Our first panelist is a really cool guy that's pushing the envelope in how brands reach their customers and bring their message from trade shows to their fans. He's the Director of Customer Experience for Yamaha. Help me welcome Mr. Jeff Hawley.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hawley, Director of the Customer Experience Group, the Yamaha Corporation of America. My focus at Yamaha has been on the branding and marketing side. From our early days in simple audio podcasting of artist interviews, to our latest breakthrough integration of HD video and performance data via our remote live technology, I've been connecting the dots behind the scenes and putting broadcast technology to work as a key part of that branding and marketing mix. I'm excited to chat and share with you all today.
Jeff Hawley, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. All right. Like I said, we've got an awesome panel tonight. Our next panelist, he's actually responsible for help taking Turner's brands to the next generation of broadcasting. And those brands include the NCAA, NASCAR, the NBA. He's the VP of Creative and Emerging Tech for Turner Broadcasting, Mr. Bill Chapman.
People are arriving here at Liberation Square.
I want to get away from the craziness.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to get. I want to
bring any craziness. We are here to tell the truth.
Y en primera fila disfruta de lo mejor de la acción.
He's looking at you, kid.
Adventure time!
The Game Sports Award Show.
Now that's a good deal.
The new TNT series, Dallas. All these guys.
Oh, looked like a door.
That's what she said.
Bill Chapman. And my golf mentor. This guy's taught me everything I need to know about the links. Thanks, Bill.
I have to do something here.
Which isn't very much. All right, our next panelist is a very good friend of mine. He's actually a 6-time Emmy Award winner. He helped Are we laughing at Emmy Award winner? No. This is a tough crowd. I mean, we're already getting heckled during the introductions. He actually helped execute MTV's live streaming initiatives. He's the SVP of Production Strategies for MTV, Mr. Jeff Jacobs.
About how I feel, I just don't like you, and you know that, so...
I mean, you don't like me because I told the truth, obviously.
No, I just don't like your personality, and I don't like how you treat everybody.
This crowd is just seeing horrible bosses.
And they liked it, I think. You're only as good as the jokes you can remember. So that's, I've got a good memory.
Can't you see, little girl, she got a hold on me like glue. Baby, I'm howling for you.
Jeff Jacobs. All right, baby. Thanks for being here.
It's all good, baby. Up top. You were going to give me some money, I thought.
Like I said, the heckling has begun. This should be very interesting.
I told him about the Emmys.
The whole second row is like all MTV people. I can't get these guys to a staff meeting. but for Booze and Kiki, they're here at 5 o'clock. Fucking people. It's unbelievable.
All right, rounding out our Broadcast Minds panel is a gentleman that Comedy Central has named one of the top 100 comedians of all time. Yes, it's true. Leo's laughing at everything. He's been in over 70 feature films, and he's the host, producer, creator, and mastermind behind the Kevin Pollak Chat Show, Mr. Kevin Pollak.
Finally, they came up with a better way to do toothpaste.
I mean, if you hear a guy barking in a supermarket, you're gonna laugh.
I played a cobra who was charmed out of a basket. So then they needed, I'm not kidding, a gorilla.
If you're gonna play yourself, you might as well hope that the protagonists think you're a cool guy.
Right.
And Messed Up on Ecstasy was like a super fun wrinkle to play.
You're not listening, can't finish one time. You're not listening. You can't finish one time.
The fact is, if the movie's good, people will see it.
People are going plenty fast. I think accidents are going to happen.
Pollak. Thanks for being here. Leo, take it away.
Please be seated. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Wow, this is great. Thank you very much. They did say keep going, didn't they?
Look, it doesn't phallic at all. What the hell is happening? Me with the little one.
So it's a really diverse bunch here.
See what happened?
It's all over.
I'm scared to open mine.
We're watching.
This is expensive water.
This is the guy from MTV.
This is expensive
All right.
water.
No, this is good stuff. Save it. You might want it later.
They don't have bigger bottles?
It's actually vodka.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Is this thing on? Thank you.
Are you all just going to do shtick? We don't have to do it. We don't have to do content here. We just talk. So,
Senator, you owe my colleague an apology. Sorry.
Oh, this is going to be
So I wanted to start off with a simple question, then you guys can we can work on from there. And that is, how has the internet changed what you do? And in fact, you know, I look around and I see it's changed everybody here quite a bit. Let's start with you, Jeff.
Sure. Well,
I mean, you work for a music company.
Exactly. I think really the shift from a music perspective, and certainly from a music product perspective, with the internet and just technology in general, has kept, I think, the core communication between people and with audience is really what makes the magic there. I don't know that necessarily will ever change, and hope that doesn't change, but it's really added a whole new level and really a cool way on top to enhance that.
Well, in the past we have live performance and recordings. Now you've got something in between.
Sure. You know, one of the things we've been working on lately, you know, maybe at some point we'll get a chance to chat about it a little more, you know, is that in between, which you're taking products to be able to teach lessons remotely and have that interaction, even though you could be in LA and your student could be in New York, or an artist that's performing on the Strip in Vegas and you're, you know, viewing it in Duluth. You know, the technology evolving to allow all that. And really, I think the last point that's been interesting in the music space, and particular to my gig at Yamaha, is being able to connect that to what we're doing online. You know, so working with tools like the TriCaster and with streaming providers and finding cool ways to integrate it. So it's not just some other, oh yeah, we've got this thing over there.
Right.
So that we can really justify and connect it from a marketing and ROI and business speak perspective. But yeah, at the end of the day, we see real value coming back to Yamaha as a company and to music makers in general. So yeah, huge. I almost can't think of the word for the size of the change that technology and the internet has brought to the music industry.
That's an important point. It's not just the internet, it's digital technology that makes it all possible. Bill, how about you at Turner? What's happened?
I think it's certainly a couple things. One is brand extension, where we're able to take the brands into second screen, third screen experiences. Excuse me, my voice is gone. I've been here 4 days. My voice went back home yesterday. So it's that brand extension where now we can reach the audience in different ways, different platforms, et cetera, and also provide different experiences, either based on the business model or based on the content accessibility, you know, the CNN News brand, et cetera, reaching more immediate access, and also the audience engagement at those second and third screen levels, secondary product, and also the authorship of the audience becoming part of the mainstream brand. So I think in that sense, it's a different distribution model, yet it's a similar brand and brand extension that extends us far beyond that.
And this is going to be a huge year. It's an election year. CNN has in the past been very innovative in how it covers elections. Are we going to see some new stuff this year?
I think you'll see a breadth of material in that one of the keys here is data accessibility. So knowing more from an informational standpoint, knowing it sooner, participating in that. It's probably one of the first elections that's going to be a heavy social media election.
People are going to have their iPad and their TV screen.
iPad, their television, their mobile. They are going to be part of understanding that decision. Or those decisions. Whether it's, and the traditional model is not dead by any means. What we're seeing here is a distribution change as much as a content change.
Okay. Let me talk to you, Jeff, about MTV. Before I do, this is an Olympic year also. I know you were working at NBC, Sydney Olympics, and the Olympics this year is going to be a watershed for internet, for second screen. you must be watching with interest to see.
I guess so. I mean, those guys at NBC don't talk to me anymore. but I think the question about.
Let me ask you about MTV. How has the internet changed that?
At MTV and the MTV Music Group, we realized years ago that live streaming and streaming in general, between the behind the scenes and the casting and the extra and the extra sneak peek nonsense, yada 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 yada, it enables us to further engage the viewer.
But is it just a marketing tool?
No, it used to be. It's like 5 years ago.
Oh,
5 years ago was a little extra shtick. Real world, you can go and see the bios of the kids. Now you got your live after shows, you got your house tours, you got your contests, you got your casting profiles and your casting tapes. No, Leo, marketing, that was years ago. Now it's a whole viewer engagement.
Is it another
platform.
channel, another content
of course.
channel?
Well, we're lucky. We're lucky. Our viewers watch TV on 2 screens.
Right.
Our viewers watch content on 2 screens.
Right.
A and B.
Right.
A and B.
They have their laptop in front of them, or they?
Of course. I
Yeah.
mean, the kids come home today, and like I always used to turn on TV. They obviously turn on their laptops or their pads.
But you used an interesting word, engagement.
Yeah.
It's a way of making them more committed to what they're participating.
Further engaging the viewer.
Yeah.
And thanks to many people, some of whom are here in the room, we can bleed, if you will, we can build, if you will, from what's on linear back to digital and then back. One writer, I think the Times, said after the VMAs last year, we have an initiative to grow our tentpoles, shoulder programming, if you will.
Right.
And one critic, I think it was the Times, after the VMAs said something like, last night, MTV dominated on 2 screens, and that was all we could ever ask for.
Yeah.
So we're having a good time.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, they send cupcakes to all the pantries, so then thanked everybody.
Well,
But,
I want to talk to Kevin too, because you know these guys are suits. You're creative.
Why was he have to do that?
That's why I'm not in a jacket.
I noticed that, but I wasn't going to say anything. So, what does the internet mean for creatives?
Well, in terms of the multiple screens you mentioned, I had a history already in the sense that if you come to my house, all the films I've been in play on 7 different screens continuously. So
it's a large number of films,
I understand
actually.
the importance of engaging.
The 7th screen is what we call it, yeah.
You know, listen, this has become like a 4th career, and the truth is, if you are a creative person, it's nice to be only limited by your imagination instead of a studio, a network. To be able to create content, you have the option of bringing it to studios and networks, but you also have the option to, you know, deal directly with the public worldwide in an instant. So for me, I started out in stand-up comedy, and I started doing movies, which was a fantasy, but also very frustrating because you would do something funny in a movie and then wait 9 months to see if anyone else thought it was funny. And you had no control over which take was going to be used in any given scene. So stand-up was always a draw for me to go back to, because being live on stage and being on that high wire, taking an audience for a ride of my choosing for an hour, living and dying by my own thoughts and wits, that high, it can't be really compared in any way, shape, or form. But also I was the editor and the director and the, you know, so I created content for my strengths, whatever they might be, and then the internet allowed not only a lot of new talent to experiment and get an audience, but people like myself who allegedly come from this traditional media world to find a whole new frontier, literally. I
Can you say that?
can't say that without thinking of William Shatner. Although, you know, listen, here's the thing. That's actually an interesting transition. I've been doing impersonations my whole career, but Christopher Walken is actually the first one where once I start doing them, I can't really stop. Yeah, funny for you. I will walk around my house sometimes for a couple of hours speaking only as Christopher Walken and not realizing it really until the cat passes out from fear. So what do you do with that? You start a comedy podcast on iTunes called Talkin' Walkin', which raced into the top 10 of comedy podcasts on iTunes, which is nearly impossible these days because there's, well, look, Andy Warhol was very close when he said in the future everyone would be famous for 15 minutes. In the future, everyone will have their own podcast for 15 weeks. There are 10,000 of them. But here is this immediate outlet for this Christopher Walken obsession. And by throwing it out there, anyone can load a podcast onto iTunes or a website within 48 hours. It was in the top 10 on iTunes of comedy podcasts. Just announcing it on Twitter. In my case, that's 254,780 people. As of when I was backstage. Which, by the way, is more followers than Hitler. I'm just saying. Hey, I've decided to leave Poland alone. It looks cold. But the truth is that was the only marketing tool, and you saw what happens to this. So for a creative person, you know, the new mantra for me is if you're not creating, you're waiting. And I'm just, grew tired of waiting for the phone to ring. Not that it did stop ringing. But, you know, and so to have the majors finally sort of line up and say, all right, we're in, we get it, we're in, is fantastic for the creative people because now it's, the public has spoken at large. We want this. They love coming home to their laptop and finding out what the hell's going on from news to entertainment and everything in between music and political, whatever it is. They want it, and they want it now. So for a creative person, this is unbelievably exciting.
Do you think, Bill, that's a threat to companies that produce and put content out, that the talent might be, I think of Netflix, we were talking about this backstage, now producing its own television. What does that do to established television business?
Well, I think it actually serves more as an incubator. So that, yes, we, and some of our series have started on the internet as well, through the .coms, Adult Swim being one of the great examples. So it's not only an incubator, but it's a share of back and forth. So the creative end is as much involved in that and listening to the fans to say, what is the broadcast side? What is the best marketing tool right now for an established brand? It's super fans on the internet. And a lot of our content that is driven to the second screen is for that super fan who's going to help dictate what the creative is on the front end. So I think it really is, it becomes, for us, a tool of authorship. And a much better tool of authorship than throwing 20 pilots against the wall and see which one, you know, sticks and you know, saving a few bucks that way. Because those are the ones that do rise to the top rather than the just, you know, darts on the wall.
Right. And that's, to your point, it's gone beyond marketing what you've got. It's a two-way street now.
You know, from a creative point of view, it's gotten so many young, what were once called filmmakers, and so many creative forces. It's just got them in the creative marketplace. It's gotten their content shown, and could you imagine these guys having to go rent crews and unions and the old edit rooms, just being able to utilize some of the resources that are available today? It's incredible. Oh my God, when I was your age, edit rooms were like a whole room of racks and consoles and rooms and 5 engineers. And and bread was a nickel. Now to have I'm sorry. And now to have all this as a resource for a young creative person, or frankly, an old under-budgeted creative person to be able to work on and get their content out there. It's incredible. It's such a great, fun time.
It's fun to come to an NAB show and see, you know, a 4K camera for 15, well, that's still expensive, 15 grand, or see this Blackmagic 2.5K camera for 2,500 bucks. That really is going to be a tool that's going to transform what a young person can do all of a sudden. You don't have to max your credit card on film stock. You can shoot a movie.
And also, I like what Kevin mentioned. It's instant. It happened last night. It's on now. That's amazing.
That is
That's
great.
amazing. Yeah. Music festivals, comedy stand-ups, and I guess news obviously. It's instant. So
yeah, it changed. Well, you know, unfortunately, it created a generation who wants everything now. But that same generation has been saying for a while, let me choose what I want to see or listen to. Don't tell me, don't, you know. And so now that it's opened wider in terms of not just choices, but time, you know, I think it was only 5 years ago they were saying, you're going to record everything, kids are going to program their own networks, right? And then the DVR made that possible in a heartbeat. So who watches live anymore?
Right.
So then that concentrates your efforts towards not only making it instant, but you can only stream it here. Then now it's a new marketing tool itself. So the content is feeding the master in a marketing division.
But don't you notice, and I bet you do too, Jeff, there's a live now is big too for the same reason.
Fantastic.
You do your show live?
Yeah, we stream live, and in some cases we've gotten as many as 100,000 people watching live.
So that's the opposite. I mean, that's people saying, I'm going to make an appointment to watch this show.
An internet show.
An internet show. Right. Isn't that amazing?
Which, yeah, and then Hulu.
Why do you think? I mean, they can download it later.
Well, I think it's, to be honest with you, listen, one of the reasons that Facebook became the monolith that it did, I believe, is that it tapped into an emotion of everyone wanting to be a part of a community. It's a little bit of high school with money, but you want to be a part of a community. So there is something about the collective audience, whether you go to a ball game and that sense of being in the park, or you get to sit in the comfort of your own home and watch something live as it's happening, and you know that the only people that are also sharing this experience are tuning into that exact same thing. Whereas television has become something, you do program your own network. You do decide when you want to watch something.
It's different kinds of things, you know?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the downloads for the chat show get up into, you know, the millions or whatever. Right. And so you're offering that as well. You've got the library.
Whatever they want.
It was sort of brought to my attention, we celebrated our 3rd year anniversary, but it was brought to my attention fairly early on that the same way the studios created their power and strength was to build a library of content. Well, now anyone can build a library of content. That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Truly.
Jeff, you do concerts, right? I mean,
yeah.
In fact, you do something really interesting with the disc clavier. Tell people what you're doing with that.
Yeah,
That's
so
kind of amazing.
One of the cool projects we've got in the works, it's currently in beta, but going really well, and we're excited with where it's leading, is essentially taking a pretty basic concept of a player piano that you used to stick little paper player rolls in, and if you stick it in, it plays back. A digital version of that over long distances, so that the Yamaha disc clavier piano, which is the keys are actually moving piano, the ability for an artist to be at one facility and playing it and being, you know, video shot in HD, and streaming the video along with the piano data necessary for a remote piano to replay live as well, so that you could essentially just turn off the broadcast audio of the microphone picking up the piano and have your receiving piano play it back. So
exactly.
Yeah. So it's not just I'm listening to, you know, a famous classical pianist, or, you know, maybe someday a huge artist.
You can have Elton John in your living room.
Yeah, the keys are moving back in real time, back to your concept. You know, that's what makes that special. You know, you're part of that unique audience that's watching this live in real time, and that makes it really cool. Yeah. There's obviously the second tier of, it's available to rebroadcast, and your piano keys will still move, but there's something that is really special and just a unique kind of vibe and experience that I think musicians get that and know that, and you know, there's a lot of power in that. I think that concept of I know that emotion and that emotive spirit somehow is coming through the ether into my living room. So yeah, we're excited to see where that could go, and ways of, again, making sure that we're connecting that. A bit of brand extension there, obviously, that it's, you know, Yamaha.
You have to have a disc clavier.
Yeah, you have to have a disc clavier, so that's a nice, pretty straight connection there to sales, but really from a music making and at the heart of really what Yamaha is about, just the power of music making and building those future music makers. You know, as you had mentioned, a recent keyboard purchase.
My son,
yeah, exactly.
We bought a Yamaha piano because he wants to learn piano.
Yeah.
He's an electronic musician, and he realized I need to know keyboards if I'm going to go any farther with this.
Yeah. So, envisioning someday being able to bring that down and into other lines and ways of connecting so that it's not just live video, but really rethinking and reshaping live music.
What's the technology? How are you doing that?
In a very, very basic terms, it's essentially the MIDI-ish sort of technology that's there and a couple of fancy bells and whistles. And it's encoded within a special kind of proprietary white noise that's being streamed. The disclavier knows how to interpret it and play it back.
Wow.
We're using, obviously, the TriCaster in that process so that, yeah, you're getting your video stream, you want to watch it, cool, there's your video. You happen to have a disclavier, there you go.
So, and if you don't, you get the normal, you get the music.
Sure, yeah, so being able to set those up, so yeah, you're going to make your own broadcast channel, your own special station of all of these artists, that somewhere down the road, yeah, I have a disclavier, I don't, I have a, wherever the price point can go that we can add this sort of technology would just be really imagining from a performance standpoint pretty cool and somewhat touchy-feely, that immediacy, but even just really in a practical way, music lessons and music learning. We had a recent really cool event, working with Juilliard and other really high-level schools to be able to imagine what this could be like. A master class taught from our, a facility in New York, and we actually have a world-class facility there that's been wired to essentially turnkey whenever we've got someone, master pianist come in to be able to just, now we're live, and to be able to push this out to students.
Wow.
At that level, the difference between seeing very simply, a right notes being played miles away to the emotion and the very specific timing and feel at a super high musicianship level is being transmitted and accurate. So wow. a teacher being able to show the emotive spirit behind Chopin and, okay, now you play it. Being able to have their piano return that from thousands of miles away. Pretty powerful stuff. We're definitely excited about it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I love the level of excitement of the live streaming. Coming from sports TV, I was always brought up as a live guy.
Right.
And there's nothing like it when you're live. When you've got your comms on, you're speaking to an AD somewhere, and you're going over the co-ward, and it actually counts.
Yeah.
It creatively, there's nothing more exciting than it. But to your point, Kevin, about building a library, or what we call on-demand, which is basically a library, I'm starting to come around and appreciate more and more all the time the value of the on-demand. We do a lot live. We're very lucky. We do a lot live. And we get to do music live streaming once a week, twice a week. Fantastic.
Yeah.
We get to do, after some of our shows, live enables us to do some after shows. So if you're doing America's Best Dance Crew, to be able to be live and stick miking from backstage, you just can't do that on tape. Right. You just watched the show from 10 to 11. To be able to go now backstage on .com and do stick miking with Q&A, that's amazing. You can't do that on tape tomorrow, ENG style. So that's amazing. And there's nothing more exciting. Of course, we're finding more and more, as you would imagine, to really be successful at the live, you've also got to eventize it. I suppose either your appointment viewing or eventizing it. So creating a series, every Wednesday night we're at Webster Hall, or creating the Online Music Awards, which is coming up in the end of June, which is music and the broadband's only internet music award show coming up at the end of June. So eventizing it, making that such a big thing. But again, I am starting to learn more, appreciate more the on-demand aspect. Even in music, in the late 80s, I guess, and late 80s in college even, you'd find the people in the neighborhood that had cable, and you'd go to their house on Saturday night, and you'd turn to MTV, and you'd wait for the, God help me, the Billy Joel video. And if you got to see Uptown Girl, or Madonna, I mean, it's for real. If you got to see Billy Joel,
I could tell it's for real.
Listen, I had John Landis on the chat show. He's a talker.
It's a word of warning.
Almost 3 hours we went.
Wow. Isn't that nice, though, that you didn't have somebody saying,
yes,
wrap it.
No, yeah.
And you could say whatever you want.
But he talked about we do a lot of research, and I got him to talk more extensively about the making of Thriller and the Thriller video, and how the album had already been out 8 or 10 months, and the label didn't want to put up any of this money to make the 17-minute film. What? Why? And he had to sell the making of rights to Showtime in order to fund the thing. And then it branded and launched MTV with that video. That video had a greater impact on building you talk about event, that changed that world.
Lead up.
In a nanosecond.
Yeah.
So to the point, we used to watch and wait for that video to run on MTV all night.
Right.
Now, the on-demand, the building library.
You go to YouTube.
You can go to, well, I like to think you can go to MTV.com and watch one of
sorry.
40,000 videos. Or you could do that.
Do people do that?
If you want the cryptic, shitty version, you can go to YouTube.
That's
sure.
right.
Yeah.
I go for the comments.
No, if audio is not important to you, it's fine. So it's terrific to be able to go to a .com and watch one of 40,000 videos on demand.
Right.
But
that does change the business. I mean, even MTV doesn't do music videos anymore. Why?
Oh, well, no, that's not true.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry.
I mean, I
missed that.
I'm not here to represent MTV in a court of law. But,
yeah, you are.
but if you go to MTV Hits or MTV Jams or VH1 Classic on your linear cable system, you could watch 24/7 videos all night.
Okay.
But quite
does
frankly,
anybody do
I
that?
don't know if there's even a need for that because again, you want to see a video, go to MTV.com or go to any other .com, and you can watch it in our library. We have 40,000 videos online. So quite frankly, MTV doesn't need to.
Right.
But in case you're in a bar, you want your bar up on linear TV, sure, you can go to MTV Hits, MTV Jams, VH1 Classic, and see 24/7, knock yourself
I think
out.
the moral here is you give the viewer what they want. Sometimes it's live, sometimes it's on demand, sometimes it depends on the content. But the point is you don't limit how they can view it, right? Well, you don't need to anymore. This isn't a constrained resource. You can put it anywhere, anytime, and it's good for everybody.
Or in the case of Talk and Walk, and you tell them what they want. Because they've never heard of this nonsense before.
What would happen if Christopher Walken were on Talk and Walk?
Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Smarty Pants. You with your NewTek. I walked that floor, that crazy floor out there. I was in the South Hall for 6 hours before I knew what happened. There's a Starbucks there in the South Hall. I was in line for an hour and a half.
Seriously.
I can't get over these waters. It's still very intimidating as a man to sit here with these.
Are we allowed to drink these, or are they just
I don't want to touch it.
It's just sitting there.
It's about 20 pounds if you actually pick one up.
So, Turner, let's talk about Turner, because you're not quite in the same boat as MTV. In fact, a lot of, well, are you? Can you put stuff online? And I think the really interesting thing to me is that you really rely for your business on cable operators. And I've got to think cable operators are not real thrilled about your customers. CNN only just started streaming, and I don't know how they're getting away with it.
Well, actually, they've streamed for a while. If you ever go to CNN.com, if you're not on MTV.com, you will actually see videos.
I just watch on YouTube. I'm sorry.
So, actually, to the point of the on-demand side, the advertising model has shifted where we're not as concerned about the live viewing. As long as it's within a certain time period, the advertising model still gets credit. Which leads us to the second point of what we're calling the TV Everywhere experience. Other networks have, and other MSOs have different names to it. As long as there's a certain viewing period within a certain amount of time, the advertising model is still supported. So we've had to kind of shift to say, it's okay if you can't get it live to some degree, as long as you can get it quickly. Now, that pertains a lot to especially live, like sporting events, et cetera, where, by the next day, everybody's talked about the game, so,
But
so
I will watch CNN on my Roku. I mean, it's not exactly live, but it's near term.
But yeah, and if you look at, say, some of the live events that are multi-platform, our franchise sports, NBA to be an example. You know, Steve's on his little thing right now watching NBA overtime.
He's out there.
So there's a great example.
Right.
So you've got not only a first screen experience, you've got a second screen experience, which is different. You've got a third screen experience, which is different. You've got the social media tied in, which is different. So we've extended that live event to all these different platforms, which is good for us as well. Most of those are not necessarily related to that hand that feeds you on the MSO side.
Well, that's my question. I mean, are they pushing back on this?
Not necessarily, in the sense that it's extending the linear brand as well.
So they're happy because it's good for viewing.
I mean, I'm sure everybody wants you to watch it on the big screen and get the eyeballs the very first time. But I think everybody in this industry has realized that ain't happening. 40% of the audience is time shifting and not watching it in front of their big screen because their big screen is busy surfing the internet. Or watching Kevin, one of the two. So the big screen is no longer a big screen, it's a multi-platform viewing device. It's just a giant iPhone where you're watching your MSO, you're watching your Facebook, you're watching, you know, the oven cook your dinner. It has become the household management tool rather than a television set. So we're just part of that conglomerate.
It's become more amorphous then, really, how people consume this content. There is nowhere you go anymore. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. You pick
and
it up.
You have to do that. You have to provide that to the customer.
We have to realize that we're not going to come drag you kicking and screaming to the big TV.
Right.
So let's take our stuff to where you do want it, as Kevin says. The consumer is now saying to us, we want it here. We want it here. If we are not smart and don't put it here and here,
there's a lot of competition.
They're going to be watching Billy Joel.
That's right.
That's not Billy Joel.
We love Billy.
All roads lead back to Billy Joel. Why is he starting a fight? I don't know. Why is he making over? What the fuck is that? Right?
It's not just broadcast, is it? It can also be from a corporate point of view. You guys are doing, you were at NAMM and you were streaming your NAMM stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly lots of different angles and cool connections, and I think from the start, just a strange combination of people that kind of came together when we started this. You know, very similar. We started with podcasting, and this was, you know, my history at Yamaha. I came in and marketing trumpets and flutes, and have a band and a musician background, and wow, what's this audio podcast thing? And really started just jumping in as the young, excited guy. Hey, I can do something cool with this. And luckily, my boss saw enough. Okay, you can go do that. And it really just was an interesting transition, and it went through all the, now video podcasting, that's cool. Now there's this YouTube thing everyone's talking about. Now there's Flash. You can put videos on the interwebs. And it just kept going. And I think where we're at now is really the coolest combination to be able to serve and connect across those channels. And really, when you get to something like a trade show or the event that is all about, you have to be here right now, right today, to see this new product. You'll be the first to see it. This is going to change your life as a musician. We've been able to really grow that, 50,000, 100,000 people that might walk into a limited trade show booth location. So taking that limited location and space to, hundreds of thousands of viewers in real time to be able to experience that. And again, it's not super high, 3D lasers sort of broadcast. This is, me with a mic talking to artists you may or may not know, but guys that certainly musicians respect, and then tossing it over to a marketing manager for a trumpet. If you're in that space and that's what your lifeblood is, playing trumpet, as a professional or as a hobbyist, it's interesting. And I think if we're careful about how we position it and we don't skew it too far to corporate speak, and we allow the customers to have that bit of a feedback cycle, we do our very best to have the Yamaha listens tagline that I think in some companies may be a bit of, again, just marketing speak. Wow, that sounds great. We should listen to customers. I think a rare instance where we really do our best to listen and act on it. The real transition from NAMM show to NAMM show to NAMM show broadcast has been a little bit in the tech and the quality of the video itself. Just naturally, we moved from SD to HD. But really, the transition has been the connection and social media aspect. So yeah, I think once you take the broadcast news and sports and things and music and start laying on the social media aspect, that's where the breadth of content and what works in a live space, I think, really starts to grow.
Let's talk about that. That's really interesting. What it is breaking down that fourth wall. You're not just a broadcaster, you're a communicator, you're in a conversation with your audience. If you have a big audience, that's a challenge. How do you deal with that? How do you use that?
I think in many cases you're authoring to the device and to the audience who's using that device. I don't know that's not the perfect solution, but you tend to capture the social media and return that to them in whatever they're talking about at that level, or at that level of...
Do you do it in real time, or...?
Oh, absolutely.
You do?
As real can be,
yeah.
you know. So that on the linear side, yes. And you'll find an amazing amount of linear tied to social even now, where not only are some of your players tweeting, you know, NASCAR drivers are tweeting during the race. Obviously, you know, not the best, not the best example of text while driving.
You can change that ringer, by the way.
Not during the,
okay.
you know, at pit stops, at you know, red lights, whatever, green lights, blue lights. But you're engaging the athlete in the activity. You're creating a direct connection, and obviously on-air talent is too. So do you tweet during your show?
Of course.
See, so you've got this connection of authorship to the participant at a level you've never had before. That extends not only to broadcast and the content generated there, but at a much deeper level to the social devices. And that's all still part of the overall
Do you think of that when you build a platform? Do you think about how am I going to integrate social into this? And
I think the next step, even beyond social, is data. The amount of data, and this is what we talk about a lot of presentations and you know, sports and news especially, data is becoming the next social media. So all of the information that is out there, not only during a linear broadcast, but in linear sports, in live sports, et cetera, that data becomes an entire entertainment event in and of itself. You know, fantasy sports, fantasy entertainment. It is the next tool of the broadcast medium, and it's going to be tied into all of our production devices. As to the data mining, data analysis, if you want a job right now in broadcast, you're a data analysis. What the hell that has to do with production, I don't know, but that's the next greatest job.
It's true all across business. Big data is
it is, and broadcast is big data.
Yeah. Jeff, are you doing that too at MTV?
I mean, obviously, you know, we used
because you got younger people. I mean, they're really engaged on social media.
And for that, we're lucky. but we used the word earlier. You know, we used the phrase further engaging the viewer. And again, the two-way street and the interactivity is just the fuel. Is just you know, it fuels the fire. I don't know last time we've had a live stream without having your Tumblrs and your Facebook application and your Twitter and the IM thing and back and forth. And again, it's very, very exciting. It's not even business. It's just very exciting to be able to see a live show and a conversation going on. And again, we have a demographic. We're lucky. Even, you know, I joke, obviously. Even our VH1 CMT viewers, even our MTV viewers, and across the whole Viacom Media Network spectrum, we're very lucky. We people are very, very savvy and very into the whole social networking. Maybe a better demo for this type of business than perhaps your average nationwide news viewers. But we're very lucky because we've got conversations going on. So they're watching on the big screen, they're conversing on the smaller screen, and back and forth. We have conversations going on. They're commenting about people's dresses. They're dissing about what's going on in the show. In fact, one of the first times we ever did a live stream was a Hills after show. Hills was a very, very popular show about, 4 years ago. So the show would go from 10 to 11 or 10:30 to 11. Then at 11 o'clock, people would tune into MTV.com to watch the Hills after show. It was honestly, this was the first time we ever did like really a live stream. It was 5 girls in the girl's bedroom and then later on in the living room, up in her bedroom, dishing on the show after the show went off the air. They watched the show together, and then they all sat around and they were dishing on the show. They were discussing the show.
That's surrogate for the audience.
Totally. And now, 4 years later, the audience is dishing with them.
They're actually doing it.
Totally. In fact, this is funny. The first time when we did that Hills After show, oh my God, I can't believe this. We had a telephone on the set, and we put up a thing, a chyron, that said something like, "Hey, hey, Lauren's calling in. Want to ask her a question?" And literally, I can't believe this. We had people calling in and asking questions. It's like so basic cable, 1980. But now. I joke, I'm part of basic cable, I've got a mortgage. But now we've got the interactivity. So for example, for Movie Awards this year, we'll be, for the MTV Movie Awards at the beginning of June, we'll probably be doing some interactivity. After people present their awards, they go out to like a little patio. So we'll do some Q&A stick miking in the back, and we'll probably be setting up some Twitter accounts, some IMing so instead of just our guy asking the standard questions, or better than standard editorial questions, now you at home could ask the questions. That's amazing. Talk about bringing the creative to the people at home. Talk about bringing the creative to the home. Talk about a time and a use or an application where technology is helping us drive creative. Mm-hmm. Creative always drove technology. We wanted to do this, get a bigger lens. We wanted to do that, put a lens on the cable, and that's fine. And that was great. Now technology is helping drive the creative. Hey, what do you think we could do? Well, we got this new gadget. Well, then let's do it.
Right.
Well, this thing just came out. It enables us to live stream. Really?
Right.
Live?
Right.
For a reasonable rate and portability? Oh, or...
live editing with a TriCaster, 5 cameras? Yeah. I mean, truly.
No, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
For nothing.
So talk about... well, nothing. Nothing if you do enough of these panels.
No, but if you're doing an internet show and you can't afford... You're doing an internet show and you can't afford 5 cameramen.
Totally.
You need to set up the cameras and
have
one guy run the TriCaster.
We lock them down and we shoot. You know, it goes 2 ways. I had an interesting experience a year ago. I taught Regis Philbin how to tweet. It was a really, now here's a guy, he's the longest guy working in show business in television right now. I mean, he really goes way back to Joey Bishop days. And here's a guy, and I showed him how to tweet, and actually it was the day he announced that he was going to leave the show. And I said, okay, now we'll watch the responses. And he's sitting here watching in real time as thousands of responses are coming in. And it's an experience somebody like him had never had before. Just as you said, you produce it, you throw it out there, but it's in television, you don't hear anything, any laughter back. Right. And when he called his wife. He said, "Joy, get on Twitter. They're talking about me."
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting, I mean, it was genuine. It was a very interesting experience.
The first time you see yourself trending on Twitter, I just want to say.
All choked up.
It's a mitzvah. You understand?
No, but I think for
it's ridiculous.
It's a communication now instead of a monologue. You know,
launching a new television show now, you go. You know, it used to be you get the guy on the phone and he's telling you what the numbers are. And now you go to Twitter, and you.
How do we do?
You do the hashtag whatever the show is, and you watch the instant response, and it is miraculous in that regard.
So if you have a chat room on your show, or any show,
we do.
So if you have a chat room, now is that your virtual audience?
Yeah, yes. And the way
because you used to be on the stage and you used to have people out here, and if you were lucky, like you said, you started in stand-up, they asked you questions, or even they heckled you and you dug it because you built on it.
Right.
So now is your chat room, is your chat, is your Twitter, is that your virtual audience?
It is. The way that Larry King used to have the telephone, the buttons, and say, you know, Thanksgiving. I like to teabag the gravy boats before the guests arrive. Schenectady, hello. I've got...
By the way, that's a game
it's just an example.
This is a game you guys play on the chat show. That's the best part of the chat show.
Tune into the chat show for the Larry King game. It is pretty fun. I remember my first pterodactyl ride. Poughkeepsie, hello. So now people are writing questions live through Twitter that Jamie forwards to me at the thing that I then ask, you know, the guest. And it is an immediate involvement. It is real time. It is that real time that, you know, first the generation wanted to program their own network. Then the generation wants everything in real time. Twitter explodes because of this fascination with real time. You know, I don't care if Regis Philbin's writing a blog and I could go check what he's writing in a diary, but if he's writing something on a daily basis, I mean, I don't think I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I'll tweet something, I think I'm going to make a sandwich. And then from 254,000 followers, 20 people will tweet reply, what kind of sandwich? And then I'll write what kind of sandwich I'm making, and 2 people go, So you see what I've done?
It's bizarre, isn't
I've
it?
started my day with 250,000 people in the palm of my hand and reduced them to 2.
Success.
Fantastic.
Yes. Which also has to take it beyond the demographic, too.
Yeah.
Because the largest growing demographics are, women on the tweets and the social media, women over 50. So, that's your perfect online dating service right there. You hop on broadcast television, open up your tweet, and go after it. So the older generations are finding this is now their communication tool.
I think you're speaking of Facebook only when everyone's mom is on Facebook.
Everyone's mom is on Facebook. The grandma networks are starting. Every grandmother has their network now that shows all their kids and grandkids, et cetera. So they have realized this, the older generation has realized that they are now, the broadcast generation.
But we always knew it. We're the baby boomers. It's our generation. This is our world. So it's interesting because you don't do a TV promo without a hashtag on the promo anymore.
That's right.
You don't put
you don't do a live show without a hashtag.
You don't do a lower third without an @ and the name of the host anymore. I mean, this is just standard operating.
Wait, you don't come in and pitch a show without a digital angle.
Oh, that's interesting.
Thank you.
So if I came to you and pitched a show and I didn't already have a social media strategy all around it, and do I have to be innovative, or can I just say, well, we'll have a Facebook page?
I'm not in the development world, but my colleagues are, and they will tell me that someone will come in and pitch a show, which has been done since the beginning of man, and they'll go through the
10 Commandments, when it came down, was originally just ideas.
Suggestions.
That's good, but how do you see it would play on Twitter?
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Listen,
it would have been 15 if it was all social media.
Yeah, I've got a book coming out in the fall called How I Slept My Way to the Middle. And one of the reasons the publisher was so interested was because of the Twitter followers. Without question, in terms of marketing.
Yeah.
It was a powerful tool.
And yet I have to be honest, it doesn't always translate. We have a host who has more than 1 million followers.
Right.
And we're not able to really capitalize on those followers. So I sometimes wonder how much of this is real and how much we've just created a bubble.
You got to write more about what kind of sandwiches you're making.
I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think coming around on that point, really the digital analyst role going forward is where that, the definition and how real is real in that data and big data in general, I think is going to be a big shift.
How do we do
either the emperor has no clothes and we're all wrong, or there really is a lot to that. It's hard.
You have to determine which data is important.
Yeah.
Whether it's, the sandwich could be very important for marketing or whatever. So it is finding out from all of this data mining and information that's coming back from the users, from the online audience, is what's important to us. And also, what can we sell?
Right.
What can we make $1 off of it?
I think it's a little, obviously a little bit different depending on where you sit and what angle, what vertical or whatever. I think in the music space, and particularly in my neck of the woods with Yamaha, that the trick has always been how do we connect those data sources. So it's, our Twitter numbers went up. People are clicking on those links in Twitter. Who are those people? Connecting that back to any other, monetization, anything down the road. Did these people buy more? Are these good people, bad people, fake people? Are they bots? That really is, I think, where it seems that the people who get it, but it's very few and far between that I've found anyone who, other than just completely making it up, is there yet. I think that's kind of where everybody seems to be, that's trying to push that envelope and make that reality. I know this is real and this is what the data's saying. Kind of everybody's right at that cusp. It'll be exactly. It'll be interesting to see as more people start to really get it, in huge companies that have tons of people and are hiring to do that, get the smartest guys in the room to figure this out, where it pans out. I think that'll be interesting over this maybe next year to see that.
I feel like as a host, and I wonder maybe you feel the same way, it's almost a kind of digital crack. I'm doing this right now without a chat room to watch, without a Twitter feed to help me. I feel naked up here. It really, you start to get used to having this constant feedback, and yet that's really a subset of the overall, it's not a big part of the audience.
Right.
So how much do we trust it? How much is it real? How much is an illusion?
Well, in the case of the talking walking thing, for example, I threw this thing up, and then I'm using this company, Libsyn for the launch pad, right? But they've got this tracking system now. So within 72 hours, I see, holy crap, there's 2,700 downloads in China. There's
right. You get ratings like that. You get overnights.
But to be able to track them worldwide in a heartbeat is another part. And again, this is not a network or a studio that's hired some company to track this down. This is anyone.
And sometimes it's important. I mean, you look at NCAA.com, it has a huge Russian audience. Why?
Right. And what can you do with that?
And what can we do with NCAA in Russia?
It does change how we think about what we're doing because we are working in a global environment. And traditionally, this has not been a global medium. Advertisers are at best national. We have to rethink the economic structure as well.
Yeah, we talked about, with different ways of launching and getting creative with digital. And can I just come in and say, oh, we'll have a Facebook. Do we need a sweepstakes? Do we need a contest? Yamaha even, obviously a multinational company, that makes it difficult, even on something like Facebook. This is the Yamaha Corporation of America guitars. And we'll have people in Swahili asking about trumpets. It doesn't matter. They expect, you ask a question, they're going to get an answer. So it does. There's a lot of complexity there, and it's an interesting balance between how much is possible. What do we do with all of it? Just tons of people downloading in China and all these Russians and the 50-year-old moms. What do we do?
Now that's a new network right there. 50-year-old Russian women bear wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. In terms of the marketing,
Kiki Stockhammer, everybody.
In terms of the marketing, you mentioned 1 million followers on Twitter, and you're not sure if it has any effect. It's learning how to use it. Like touring as a stand-up. I was just in St. Louis, so I used to just tweet, all right, hey, St. Louis Twitches, check me out at so-and-so place Saturday night. And then I realized, wait a second, out of 250,000 or whatever followers, maybe there's only 27 in St. Louis. Why don't I get all of the followers that those 27 people have and thereby reach 5 to 15 to 20,000 people in St. Louis? So I just tweeted something like, hey, St. Louis Twitches, RT this for a chance to win free tickets to my show. And now everyone in St. Louis is tweeting that out to all of their followers who aren't following me. So in terms of a marketing tool, it's re-educating yourself on how to use the internet space constantly. Right. And I bring this up to people who've been in the internet space for several years, and they hear something so simple like that, and they go,
why didn't I think of that?
That's so simple, it's embarrassing.
Right. But this is all new, and it's moving faster than anybody.
Limited by your imagination, so you have to keep Philip, what the hell?
What's he doing? I'm back, guys. What are you doing? So the time has really flown. Am I getting
give him $20?
Well, I could actually do better if you'd allow me.
Do I need to go backstage?
I told Jeff.
I'm getting my ass kicked by Jeff Jacobs.
I think we're going to 8 o'clock, and he tried to pay me off. I said, no, we're done at 7:30.
Oh no, I'm scared.
I could do even better if I don't want to capitalize the whole show. But
please do.
But
I'm nervous.
It's too late.
Bring gifts.
But I mean, if Philip is going to interrupt the show, I understand that these waters probably cost money and stuff. I just wanted to help out a little bit.
Someone help the Jew open up the box, will you? We have people to do this, brother. Oh, good. Back with the Russians.
Is this shtick? This is a bit, isn't it?
No.
There better be another box in there.
No. Just, I mean, Philip's here, and I'll speak for myself. Phil's been very helpful with us. And
Billy Joel video.
Billy Joel.
For everyone.
No, many of you know that Philip has embarked on a musical career. So we're selling some of these CDs on Philip's behalf. We're selling these.
They'll be in the back. Philip will autograph them. Yeah.
I had somebody ship these from New York. So we're selling some of these CDs. So I mean, it's just like $10.
We're trying to help him out a little bit.
Just so I'm sorry. I apologize for boxing. But anyway, so no, I'm sorry. I just wanted to sell some of these Philip and Nelson. I don't even know what it's called. It's got a pickup truck.
RT your experience here tonight for a chance to win a free CD.
No, so
or
if you
a
can
sandwich.
So maybe Kiki, if you can help me out afterward, we're going to be selling these for $10 because of Phil. No, whatever.
Jeff, thank you. Well, I don't have speechless.
We're all in this together.
You finally figured out a way to shut him up. Nice going.
Yep, you did. I mean, anybody that's worked with me in NewTek very long knows it's very hard to make me speechless, but Jeff Jacobs, you've done it. So we're gonna, we wanted to do a little time with Q&A.
Sure.
We've got a lot of cool people here in the crowd, so sorry to interrupt the great discussion. You know, but if you have a question, I'm gonna walk around. We have time for just a few questions for the gurus sitting on stage. First hand I saw is right here, and then I'm coming over here. Yes, sir.
With the advent of crowdsourcing nowadays and real-time feedback, I've thought about a way to basically harness the viewing audience where everyone decides when a commercial begins and ends, and it can control their devices to either change the channel or mute it or do things like that. So you guys that are in the broadcasting business must be thinking, well, how do we stay a step ahead of that so we can keep inserting our ads and being able to show people, you know, the ads pay for the shows, but technology is going to get smarter and smarter to make the TV smarter and smarter to circumvent that, and everyone has an attention span of 10 seconds now, so they won't mind the ad switching away and switching to something else. So that's one application for crowdsourcing where everyone's hitting in their iPad the second a commercial comes on or something else going on, and that changes the flow of content very quickly for the whole group.
Yeah,
and what is your question?
It's good.
Crowdsourcing.
From a deli owner.
Should have a music.
The question is about crowdsourcing. How do you see crowdsourcing migrating and mutating your content in real time as you begin to evolve it?
Actually, I think technology has helped that by allowing us to follow the viewer along with the ads and make it a different experience so that, you know, linear television, okay, here's my 2-minute break, here's 4 ads, a promo, 4 ads, and we're back to wherever we left the story off. Where the second, third, fourth screen experience, you tailor the ad to that experience so it's a shorter interruption or it's an interruption that adds value to the show, or it's an exclusive ad just for you. So technology has opened up other ways to reach the crowd that has moved, and in some case enhance that value in the ad, which obviously allows us a greater ad dollar. Can you turn them off? Yes, you can still turn them off. We find that's not a huge chunk because the time shifting, you know, it still travels with the show for a certain amount to get credit. So I think creatively technology has helped us from the business model move with the audience in creative ways.
Very good. All right, so our next question, sir.
Hi. Obviously, you guys can do whatever you want content-wise on the internet, right? And there's no government control, but are you worried about that? What are your thoughts on, you know, controlling what you broadcast on the internet? Standpoint.
From an internet standpoint?
We're entertaining the Russians, but this isn't Russia.
We actually don't. I don't worry about that, and it is. But we choose to adhere to broadcast standards not because the FCC tells us to, but because I want to make it as open to as many people as possible. I don't want to. But where we don't need to push that envelope, you know.
The only concerns is when they start to control the bandwidth and the...
Well, the net neutrality issue certainly is an issue.
That's, in terms of content, no. Are you worried about it at all? The net neutrality? Of course.
Oh, huge. I'm just as worried about Comcast's 250 gigabyte caps. I'm worried, I mean, there's a lot of economic pressure to keep streaming as shows that are completely independent off the air. Net neutrality is important because you don't want internet service providers favoring MTV over somebody that's independent. You know, this is a big deal. Yeah. And the government has clearly shown ignorance in this area, and I hope they don't screw it up, but we'll see.
All right, so we got a question in the back. I used my ninja skills to appear back here in the back. What's your question?
Yeah, I'm Ernest, and I have a TriCaster. Got a quick question.
It's that kind of meeting, eh?
Doing live streaming, based in Toronto.
That makes 2 people.
Question. Could you guys expand on sponsorship and advertising opportunities?
Yeah, well...
How do you kind of convey that into a monetization for live streaming?
You know, it's always been a matter of, are you providing the public with content that they want? and more television has become niche. You have a show like Mad Men branding AMC overnight, from a place to see movies to a network with original content. One show overnight, and that show's lucky to get 1 million viewers. Everything's niche now. So what happens is you build content that the audience wants, and then you're able to find a sponsor that wants that audience. And so there's new ways developing constantly. Last year it was well over $1 billion in ad sales on the internet. So it's out there. You have to kind of create new ways to find them. One of the new ways we were just talking about backstage, your audience wants to support you. At some point, if you're giving them content that they want on a regular basis and they become regular viewers, they want to help. They don't want to send you a check, but they'd like to help. So you find ways for them to do that. Whether the sponsor, in the case of Talk and Walk, and Audible.com came on immediately, offered a free audiobook to the listeners. Now, I have to encourage them, if you want to support the show, go get yourself a free audiobook, and that just shows Audible.com that somebody's given a shit. You can put an Amazon banner now. We just added that to the chat show at the top of the site. If you're on your way to Amazon.com anyways, why not click through our homepage? You'll be there in 3 seconds, and now Amazon.com not only sees the click-through, but is sending us a check. And the viewer didn't have to do anything in terms of sending a check. They just had to spend 3 seconds to support the chat show on their way where they were already headed. So, by the way, that just came down the pike. And when you explain it, it becomes the most simple thing. Well, of course. So as long as people continue to create new ways to make it easy for the sponsor to come on board, it's going to continue to grow, without question. I mean, exponentially over the last 5 years is insane how much it's grown. Are we still anywhere near where we want to be or where the broadcast networks are? We're infants. It's going to take some time.
All right, we've got time for 2 more questions, and I've already picked them out by who's raised their hand already. Here's our second to the last question.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could elaborate. Earlier, one of you commented that social media is now part of the idea process when you initially pitch a TV idea. Well, we live in a multi-screen, social media-infused television world. Could you describe the pitch session when you sit down and you say, here's a great idea for a show. Well, what about these new aspects? How big a part of the pitch process is that now?
It's a wonderful question. I'd watch the tone a little bit.
As I mentioned, I personally don't work in the development department, so I personally don't hear pitches for a living. But common sense would dictate, and also my peers tell me, that when one goes to a network development person and they sit there and they come up with the idea and the story and the arc and who they think for stars and the plots, one would imagine, and again, we all know that this happens, there's also a digital play. Oh, and you think this is good? And then listen to this. The next morning, we're on digital, and we're going behind the scenes, and we're doing this, and then there's another thing, and there's behind the scenes. I mean, like, someone brought up HBO. I mean, I remember even just, you go to Sopranos, then you go to HBO.com, click on Sopranos, and you could be reading the backstory. So they've got writers for the show, and then they've got story writers for the backstory, talking about the family tree from 10 years ago. So that's part of the development process, obviously. And also, like, I think I was watching, NBC has like a fashion star or one of these American Idols for fashion or whatever it's called. And so I guess, how does it work? It's sponsored by like Macy's, H&M and all that. So you're watching the girl in the dress and the thing, and she does the what, and then it comes up, the chyron comes up, the graphic comes up and says, oh, you like that dress? Go to Macy's, go to Fashion Star or NBC./Macy's and buy the dress.
It's available tomorrow.
Right. So A, rev streams. And B, I'm sure, that whole philosophy was part of the pitch process.
Sure,
when they went up there.
Absolutely, that's actually a perfect example. Yeah.
Well, I think it's mandatory you have a digital pitch, only to protect yourself within those rights, but also to monetize it to yourself within those rights. If you do not, you're letting go of probably the most important element of the show evolution and the ability for that show to grow across all the platforms and all the media sourcing and backstories, et cetera, that if you don't, and I don't think I've seen a pitch lately that does not have one, and in most cases it's delivered digitally as well.
And the marketing department now drives the majority of content for the studios, the networks, or whoever. So if you go in and part of your pitch is to help the buyer understand how you're going to make it easier for them to market it, that's the other advantage of coming in with that angle.
Yeah, earlier, Leo asked me if .com or digital is still a marketing tool. So I'll see you and raise you on this Fashion Star show. Not only is it not a marketing tool anymore like it once was, where 8 years ago the .com sale was just added value.
Right.
Oh, I'll buy this show, but I expect you to give me the .com for free. So not only is not that, but as the Fashion Star thing, now digital is helping to fund the linear. Right. So it says perhaps it's gone 360. Maybe that's a different panel. But maybe it's gone 360.
That's also a response to the fact that interstitial ads may not work as well anymore. You've got to do something else.
All right, great question. Last question of the night. Ma'am, what is your question?
I want to know how you are thinking about integrating the Google Plus experience into your social media plans.
It's probably for Yamaha.
Yeah.
This is for Yamaha.
We're out of here.
Yamaha,
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I think at this point we're still filling it out. We do have a general just kind of corporate presence there. And the little bit of, kind of back to the testing and connecting things and looking at the data as best as we can, so far we haven't seen compelling enough reason to shift a ton of resources there. So, I mean, hopefully, without getting into too much more there, we're seeing great success in being able to prove much easier in other social channels. And frankly, at this point, I would just throw out as a bit of an aside that I think we're seeing more possibilities with Pinterest than we would with Google in the brand space.
Interesting.
So.
Yeah. But right now it's Twitter and Facebook. Maybe a little Pinterest.
Almost entirely.
Or the $1 billion Instagram.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll take a picture of your sandwich.
12 employees, by the way.
Yeah.
Seriously.
All right, well, guys, I can't thank you enough.
Yes, you can.
You can try.
TriCast
You can start right now in front of all these people.
Yes. Thanks to Leo Laporte, our moderator tonight, Jeff Hawley of Yamaha, Bill Chapman, Turner, Jeff Jacobs from MTV.
Help me fund my 850 to 855
and Kevin Pollak. Let's hear it for our Broadcast Minds panelists.
I need the 855 upgrade if you can buy his Philip Nelson CD.
I would also like to remind you guys that this is an annual event, so mark it on your calendar, the Tuesday of NAB next year. This is the must-attend event. I'd also like to thank all the NewTek marketing team that made this event possible, this NewTek board of directors who said, yes, we can do this. They have led us through some crazy ideas. And let's have one more round of applause for our Broadcast Minds 2012 team. We'll see you tomorrow at NAB. Good night.